Our daughters will never need guns. Absolutely. Let them stay. Let them take the innocence with the generations we create after a sip of wine and some moonlight and gentle music.
I am out here for you. You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you.
We choose truth over facts.
Never go full retard.
Come on, man.
Hey team, how we going? It is Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz. I am the Aussie channel that comes from a land down under, which is girt by sea. I still call Australia home, and where the big kangaroo tends to sleep too long on the tarmac and ultimately ends up tasting like chicken beside garlic bread, peas, corn, and a mid-strength beer. But today we're here to talk about wisdom. The wise men, all three of them, rolled into one. Today it's going to be Kaz speaking the words of someone who says it better than I can. Who's this man we speak about? Well, he's in the background, the guy that looks follically challenged. That'd be Peter Garret. I don't agree with almost anything he says, but in 1990, when he was the main lead singer of Midnight Oil, he brought out a song called Forgotten Years. It is to remind us that if we don't learn about the past and they become forgotten years, it will rhyme in the future and we've got no one to blame but ourselves. And that's fair income. So we're going to talk about that. I've got the lyrics down here. I made a video for you that took me 6 hours to make that I can't put up because it got kiboshed by the algorithm. You know, who said it was a copyright claim, so you can't get to see the reaction of his song, which is excellent, but I'll put the link in the remarks below and you'll love it. Written in 1990, remember that. And I believe it's at Arlington, the cemetery, the military cemetery there. Guys and gals, today is September 11. That might not ring a bell for many people. Colette, you can ring my bell. Ooh. But it does for me. 20 years ago, were you even alive then, team? Okay, I was in uniform in a house of 5 other soldiers, and we were activated when the Twin Towers came down, went to base, the gates closed, and we thought, what comes next? And now we know. We went to war with terrorism, and it went on for the next 20 years. We've lost friends. Our coalition partners have lost so many more, and so have the people, the innocents of Afghanistan that looked completely different in 1970. Completely different. But here we are today. Have we learnt from the past? Do our schools teach the past so we don't rhyme in the future? So that our people have the best chance of no one having to stay on the Titanic as we move into the gravy years. The fruit being paid by the labour of those that sacrificed for so many generations before you. Have we learnt? Or do we dress people in cotton wool thinking that will protect them? Do we blame? Are we jealous of those around us we shouldn't be? How about we stop brainwashing our kids and we start inspiring our kids? Let's use the same way that we would inspire people within leadership groups to make them come together, to let public speakers come in and inspire them in the absence of our own ability to inspire our own teams. Let the professionals that are inspiration come in and do that job. Your Joe Rogans, your Jordan Petersons, those that are swayed by common sense, not narrative, money, and power. 20 years ago, the world came together to help each other, while simultaneously the coalition came together to face terrorism. And that's what September 11 is all about. And tomorrow they're going to re-go through that like a bandage being ripped off a wound. It's going to come out as they look and think to themselves, did we just waste 20 years of our time? I would say you didn't. And you'd have to ask the people that got out of Afghanistan safely, did we waste our time saving you? And that will only become apparent when we see what they do with their lives. But for all those that fell, absolutely, it's going to be a painful day unless we forget to all of those that have been touched. And so many have been touched, whether it be the Gold Star mothers, whether it be the innocence of nations, whether it be the greatest victim, the truth being lost up in all of this. Here's the words. Let's look at these words, dive into them and actually think about the message. And this was written in 1990, post-Vietnam, pre-Afghanistan, as I said. Few of the sins of the father are visited upon the son. So don't blame the children for what their father, grandfather, great-grandfather did. Social lessons don't seem to be learning this. They're still blaming us from times when no one had it well. Judge people on what they do in this lifetime and keep the blaming, keep the labels away. Hearts have been hard. Hands have been clenched in a fist too long. The tension. Our sons need never be soldiers. I wish. I really wish that. Our daughters will never need guns. Absolutely. Let them stay. Let them take the innocence with the generations we create after a sip of wine and some moonlight and gentle music. Let them go into the distance with our children, knowing that there's times when a father needs to say, kids, mum, go home. I'll meet you there. Our Titanic moment where we have to step up to the plate. It's part of being a man.
They are not cavalry, Captain. They are Australian light horse, mounted infantry.
Yep. These are the years in between. These are the years that were hard fought and won. Everything we have now is not free. None of it was free. It was paid for in blood, sweat, and tears. You've heard it so often. But we can still manage to make it sound like we've had the worst day of our lives while we're glutting on a bloody bucket of KFC, a bottle of soft drink, and 2 games to play on an Xbox with nowhere to be. And even porn's free. Now contracts torn at the edges, old signatures stained with tears. Sounds like regret to me. Seasons of war and peace, these should not be forgotten years. They will be if it's not taught at school. It has to be captured before you're an adult. Still, it aches like tetanus. It reeks of politics. Flies on the bullshit that comes out of a man or woman's mouth that has ambition, over the welfare of their country. How many dreams remain? Have people given up hope, even being in the Western world? This is a feeling too strong to contain. Choose that mountain where you decide this is where I stand my ground. This is worth the pain. The hardest years, the darkest years, the roaring years, the fallen years. These shall not be forgotten years. Don't waste them. Make them count. Our shoreline was never invaded. It was prevented. Our country was never in flames. This is the calm we breathe. This is the feeling too strong to contain. This is in no way a time to think of the R word in Australia, blaming people from something that happened 200 years ago, who threw the first beer, etc. Don't know. Still, it aches like tetanus. It reeks of politics. Signatures stained with tears. Who can remember? Only those that are taught or are alive. We've got to remember. Otherwise, we repeat the past. Rhyme with the past. The hardest years, the darkest years, the roaring years, the fallen years. These should not be forgotten years. The hardest years, the wildest years, the desperate and divided years, we will remember. These should not be forgotten years. How well said is that? A massive statement said prior to all the social bullshit that's happening now, where people convince themselves they've got it worse now, but are normally architects of their own demise, who you catch metaphorically sawing a hole in the bottom of the life raft after being allowed to sail away, complaining that the jacket they're wearing to keep them warm that belonged to the captain is making them itchy while he goes down to a song he didn't like into the frigid ocean. Guys and gals, we've got it pretty good. At the moment, people are suffering in lockdown, suffering from boredom, while other people are losing everything. And tomorrow is September 11, where we remember some people were in uniform last week in Afghanistan. Near the 13 that lost their lives. We need to remember. The only way to remember is to teach, is to listen to the elders, because they have lost the ego. They don't have the reputation to build. They're not on OnlyFans. They don't give a shit about Facebook. Listen to the elders. Wisdom outranks intelligence. And when they've got both, they're amazing. Jordan Peterson, study the past to not repeat the future. And we can turn ourselves into the spear point of opportunity for the future if you only give yourself a chance to be the best version of yourself, or at least not get in the way of others as they say, I am willing to be the sheepdog. I am willing to let you go on that metaphoric life raft as I stay on the hill and say, not today, Pablo. I will take the place of that guy, gal, or other. But let's pray for leadership that actually contains leadership rather than a bloody narcissistic zealot who is just trying to get a bigger paycheck and not happy regardless of how high they get on the mountain. Team, tomorrow is September 11. 20 years ago, the world changed. But it's going to keep rhyming with the past if you don't teach, if you don't listen, okay, if you don't see what you can do to make yourself the best version of you. Let's quit the whinging and let's do something to be the best version of us. Because I'm telling you now, you're living in the best times there's ever been to be alive. And at the moment, it feels like we're stealing defeat from the hands of victory. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. And at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget. To those that have fallen in the past, and those that will fall in the future, tomorrow, September 11, we will remember you and everyone that is hurting in advance.